Rick and Morty are dead. So Mort Ragnarick, great name by the way, explores the afterlife in the Rick and Morty universe, which I feel like is something the show has always been building towards, right? Because a big part of Rick's shtick is that he doesn't believe in God, religion, or the afterlife in general. Well, this episode's cold open proves him wrong, and so begins an adventure with Rick, Morty, and Bigfoot dying over and over again, reincarnating and fighting the Catholic Pope. So right off the bat, this is just a fantastic episode. A lot more comedy than last week and a much better hit rate in general. This episode works comedically in two ways. One, this heaven reincarnation live die repeat story is a story that stems from the inevitable escalation of a single conflict, an episode structure that Dan Harmon and company really know how to tap into. And two, the individual jokes themselves were just really great. One of my favorites was Rick being obsessed with something we would normally think of as nerd culture. It's always something that's funny to me, because yeah, Rick Sanchez, he's the biggest asshole in the universe, but also he's a Pokemon enjoyer, a Minecraft player, and a Gotron obsessor. Like, this episode begins and ends with Pokeball shenanigans, and it just really works. Something like Pokemon is so nerdy, but the fact that Rick is into it despite all of this intelligence that he has, it just brings a smile to my face every time. If you watch the behind the scenes for this episode too, you can tell this is one of the writer's favorites. Dan Harmon really got a kick out of the jokes they were pulling in this one, and that just makes me feel so good. If the writers are laughing at their own jokes, that's usually a good indicator of their quality. You know, it's hard to quantify comedy, but this is about as close as you're gonna get. Everything in here just works because it's not too meta, which Rick and Morty does fall into from time to time, and it's situations that are so over-the-top crazy, but Rick treats it almost as like a regular Tuesday, and that in itself is funny. So not only is this episode one of the funniest in this season, the story is just really fun to follow. Rick has the idea of jacking into Valhalla, so he dies by releasing Bigfoot on himself. Morty is supposed to bring him back, but he's also killed by Bigfoot, shocker, and now they need to escape heaven itself. They do, but Bigfoot has teamed up with the Pope to kill them, which is just a hilarious take on this whole live, die, repeat story. Rick gets him on their side, and they enter into an Edge of Tomorrow cycle of death and reincarnation, getting killed by the Pope, tapping into infinite energy, repeating a single fight until they win. You can just tell this will be one you'll be replaying when you inevitably binge the season on Max. And the pacing is great too. Every episode has a break in the middle for commercials, and this one feels very, I don't know, natural? As soon as we cut away from the show, I thought, wow, I love the brisk pace this episode is moving along at. It feels like we're getting two adventures for the price of one, and that is awesome. A lot of episodes this season kind of felt stagnant, or their breaks just didn't happen at natural points in the story. Last week's especially was just kind of weak. The mid-episode break just felt rushed and janky. This one though, it felt like we already got an entire adventure, and then we were only at the halfway point. That's a great feeling to have. In fact, I'm feeling so good about the story of this episode, I think it's time for a little writing exercise. As someone who may want to write science fiction for a living, I've practiced using the Dan Harmon story circle a decent bit, and I think it's time we give it a whirl here on the channel. So let's run through this. Number 1, comfort zone. Rick and Morty begin the episode alive, and they're just chilling. Rick is doing sciencey stuff, so nothing's really happened yet, they're just kind of enjoying the status quo. Number 2, they want something. Through Jerry's torture, Rick discovers that the afterlife is actually based in science, and he has the ability to do a heist on heaven itself. Rick is excited about his infinite energy, so he devises a plan to get it. So now we have a character want that's gonna drive the story forward. 3, enter an unfamiliar situation. Rick dies by Bigfoot's hands, and he's about to succeed when Morty is also killed, which is the unexpected twist, and now they're both stuck here. They've both physically moved to another setting. They've crossed a threshold. Number 4, adapt to it. Morty goes all Bloons Tower Defense on these Viking guys, while Rick tries to build a way out. But Bigfoot tries to kill them, then joins their side, and they all take on the Pope together. They finally kill him. Yes, all of this second act is just under this one point, and you'll see why. 5, pay a heavy price. They finally kill the Pope, but Rick loses his infinite energy that he wanted. Like Morty said, He'd rather die and win than live and lose. Rick has lost the infinite energy. That's the price he paid to survive this adventure. And number 6, they are changed. Rick realizes he can't always get what he wants. He did not get his infinite energy. He got to prove Morty wrong. Now he's winning, but he lost instead of being dead and winning. He finally accepts that he couldn't do it. You'll notice that some of these points are a stretch, right? Even that last one, not everything fits together perfectly, and not everything is perfectly paced. Like Rick said in the Story Train episode, they don't have to follow this religiously. They're obviously going to impart their own style and break the mold every so often. If Rick and Morty just told the exact same 6-beat story over and over and over, it would get so boring and repetitive. You'd be able to see all the twists coming from a mile away, and that's boring. So I'm glad they finally are able to sort of break out of that mold. The story circle is a really good storytelling device. It makes writing a lot easier and a lot better in general. But sticking to it 100% is just not a good idea. And this episode is a great example of how tweaking it and moving things around just a bit can still make for a really enjoyable story. So overall, this was a really strong episode. This season's been up and down for me, honestly. First episode, Second episode, one of the best, and one of the most enjoyable. Third episode was pretty good. Fourth episode, pretty good. Fifth episode, really great, one of the best ones, again. Sixth episode, Seventh episode, not so great. Eighth episode, really bad. It has been literally up and down and up and down. And I suspect that's on purpose, right? This season, more like any other, feels like the episodes could be moved around and nothing would really change because it's very episodic. For all we know, the spaghetti episode could have been the season premiere. Who knows? But I am glad that there are some great episodes in here. There's some bangers. Because they're taking bolder strokes in general. They're not afraid to try different stories. Some that are more out there, some that are more tropey. Some of them work, some of them don't. But that's just the nature of experimentation. Wait a minute. Wait. Bigfoot. This is the follow-up from episode 3, where that one weird heist guy was saying that Rick was going to be killed by Bigfoot. Holy crap, I did not put that together until now. That just clicked with me. Well, no, it was sort of scripted, but you get my point, right? I'm glad they decided to foreshadow this. It's that little bit of extra effort that really counts. And like I said at the beginning, even the name of this episode really works. Mort Ragnarick, obviously a play on Thor Ragnarok, dealing with Valhalla. And it's just easier to say, Mort Ragnarick, better than Wet Quat a Mortykin Summer. It's just weird. All in all, I think if they keep going in this direction, then we'll get some truly fantastic episodes before we hit that 10th season. And hey, even if we get an 11th season and beyond, maybe by then they'll have weeded out all the incest storylines, all the voice actors will have found a stronger identity, and Rick and Morty's characters can get a sort of fresh reboot with these new personalities behind the voices. That would be pretty nice, I think. So what did you guys think of this episode? Let me know in the comments. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Honestly, I would assume most of you thought it was at least alright. This episode seems kind of hard to hate. It's episodic, and some people like the serialization more, and that's fine. But I think in terms of episodic, this one was pretty enjoyable to watch. Oh, also, a quick word about the design change. A lot of this stuff has been a long time coming, and you know, it's still not perfect. I wanted to do another more ambitious outfit change animation, and I got pretty far into it, but I realized I kind of had to start over, so I'll save it for the next round of improvements. I need to work on traditional animation and practice some general anatomy before I finish that. But I am really, really happy with how this iteration turned out. Everything I make moving forward should have this consistent chalk-like outline with simple yet aesthetically pleasing shading. The dog on top of the chair, her name is Jasmine, and the one sleeping goofy is Matcha, you know, like the teas. And as always, my name is Candles, and I'll see you in the next one.